Hello and good day to you. Today's video we are going to do the technique of short rows using the LK150 knitting machine. The technique of short row or partial knitting, which is also called, is the act of creating or the process of creating slants or gentle increase or decrease by putting needles in hold or working position to achieve the desired shaping. This shaping can be used for shoulders, this shaping can be used for shoulders, skirt hem, side dart, visors or face cap, creating flares, and many more. If we turn to the manual, the LK150 manual, or any, depending on the knitting machine you are using, you can, if you turn to page 36 of the manual. So if you turn to page 36 of the manual, you will see where they wrote partial knitting by decrease. This is by decrease. This is when you want to create, you are shaping the shoulders or the neck area. And if you turn to page 37, they have partial knitting. That's page 37. If you go up, you see partial knitting by increasing stitches. This is done for skirts, and that, if you look at it, you can know that you can use that same effect or technique for visors or face caps. But what we are going to do is we want to create a flare. We're going to do just partial knitting to create flare for the next project we are going to make, which is a gown that has a flared base that we needed a tension swatch for. Okay, so let's I'm just going to work on from the right side of the needle bed. You can use any side of the needle bed. So I'm just going to push about 10, 20, 30, 40 needles into hold position. This also means you have to set the carriage to, but for now we just make so for partial knitting you need to set the carriage to hold or knit position. So for partial knitting we need to set the needles, the carriage, sorry. I'll push 40 needles to hold position. For partial knitting you need to set and I'll just move the carriage across. You need to set the carriage to hold position, but we need to make before you start the partial knitting, that's what you need to do when you want to start doing the short rows or partial knitting. That's what you do. But for now we'll just first of all make our cast on. We'll do the other stitches before them. So to make it I'll use what I will do is that I'll use this yellow yarn. I'm using this yellow yarn and this gray yarn. The gray yarn will be used for the short row so that it's a bit visible. I don't know if the yellow yarn might be too hot for people to see the shaping, the process, so I'll use the gray yarn for it. I will see which one is this in. If we'll put another color in between, then we'll alternate another color. So let's see. I've not practiced with those two, so I will. So for now I'll just cast on. So with the yellow yarn I'm just going to cast on. I'm using stitch die 3. Okay, let me set my carriage first. Stitch die 3 on the carriage, and On the lever here, it's set on 2 on the Russell lever, and yeah, the pattern knitting is set on the triangle. This I did on both sides because I'm knitting stockinet. So we need to knit stockinet first, just to put a foundation for before we start. So I've put on one by one just because I want to cast on, and so I'm just going to knit about 2 or 3, 4 rows of this, and with my transfer tool, one needle transfer tool, although I like using the 1x3 because here it has a large something you can grip on, and this one has just one. So I'm just going to pick up stitch from the loop. I'm going to pick them and hang. Do I need to? No, I don't need to do that. So I'm not going to do that, sorry. I'm just going to put the needles, push the needles, because I'm just doing demonstration. But if you want to do that, you can do that. Since we are not, let me do that. So here I'm just going to pick the needle, the loops. Picking the loops means I have to take this thing up. I'm going to pick the loops. And I'm going to hang them. We really don't necessarily mean to do that. Let's continue. That's all. So what I need to do, I'm just going to set the carriage. Oh, I can leave the the row counter. I'll just leave it how it is first. Before we start, I'm going to reset my row counter. Why we reset it is because I'll tell you the reason when it's time to reset it, so that we have a nice count of each and every step we are taking to keep track of our work. So I'm just going to knit across. Put my yarn in and just knit. Then I'll hang my cast on comb on the loops. And just hang the tail of the yarn. And hang the tail of the yarn on the clip here. I don't need to knit with waste yarn or so because I'm just demonstrating the technique. So I'll just, first of all, do some foundation rows with 1 by 1. Then I'll push all alternate needles from non-working position to upper working position, which you can see still 40 stitches. And I'm going to knit across just to put more foundation on my work. You can see, although I've created an eyelet here, but that's not what we are working on today. Okay. I'll take this yarn off so that you know where we are going to start from. I'm going to put in another color of yarn first before we start. I'm just going to put 3 rows of yarn, 3 rows of another color of yarn. So I just 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's going to let me know that I used the stitch dye 3 for that. It's just for me to demarcate one color from where we are going to start from the other. So I'll take the yarn out of the yarn feeder, put the tails on the clip so that they are secured. For this one, we can tie it in the two colors are together. We just make a knot there. So now I have my foundation stitch that we are going to work above on. So what I'm going to do first is to set my row counter to 0, 0, 0. Let's go closer to see. You can see that my row counter is now 0, 0, 0. I still have my carriage set to knit stockinette. So I'm using the yellow yarn to knit the stockinette. Why I'm using the yellow yarn for the stockinette. We are still using stockinette for both the partial knitting. So I'm using the yellow yarn for the knit. Why I'm using for the straight stitch. Why for the short rowing I'll be using the gray colored yarn. So I'm going to knit about 10 rows, or so that's pronounced. So I'm going to knit about 10 rows. So I've knitted 10 rows, and let's take a look at the row counter. You can see that's 10. Now it's time for us to do the short row. So I'm going to use the other color to use. Take the yellow yarn out of the yarn feeder, just snip and let the tail of the yarn drop. Okay, then I'll take the gray yarn, fix it. I think you will want to see that. Okay. So I'll take the gray yarn, put it in the carriage. You may want to see that. So I'll put it inside the carriage. I'll knit one row first before we do that. So but before we do that, yes, this is where we do the short rowing. I'm going to take carriage just to set it. You don't need to take your carriage, you just move it to the non-working side of the needle bed and you can set it from there. So we're going to put, I'm just taking it out for demonstration purpose so that you see exactly what I am doing. So this is how you will now set your carriage on both sides of the carriage. You're going to move the Russell lever to 1. This will make the needles in hold position stay in hold position. They won't knit back. It's like you are knitting tuck stitch. They won't knit back to upper working position. So we are doing it on both sides because when you're coming back, if you don't put the left hand side on the Russell lever on 1, you're going to have problems of all the needles knitting back into upper working position. We don't need that now. When we need it, we'll let you know when we need it. Okay, so just to set it, so both sides, now it's time for the partial knitting. Both sides of the carriage will be set on 1. So they are on 1 now, and let me turn the other side so that you see it. So the other side, here it is on 1. Okay, for the it still remains on the triangle. For the side levers still remain on the triangle. You don't need to move that. It's just only the Russell levers. So this you need. Then yes, I have to set this one on 1 here. Yes, 1 and the triangle. So now I'll put in the gray color yarn. So I put in the gray color yarn. Or let me do that one before I put in the gray color yarn. On the needle bed, I'm going to start on the needle bed, I'm going to start, before we start knitting, we need to set our the needles on the bed. We have to push some onto the needles we don't want to knit, that I want to use for the short row, that we want to, because we are trying to make a triangle, a flare effect, like a skater, for a skater skirt or a flared skirt. This is the effect we are going to create for this this technique now. We're going to use it for that. When it's, I'll do a visual later on and other this of using short row technique for it. So, but for this one, we need to push some needles into hold position. You can do it from the left or right, depends, but I prefer when I do it from the right hand side. It's easier for me. If you have a kind of pattern on one end and you want it to be on that end, your design should determine where you are going to start the short row from. So where you want the point to be, if you have a pattern on one edge, the design is, your short row is going to start from the ends you have the point starting from. So I want it to be here because I don't have any design and I can use any side, can turn it and tilt it, and it will. It's going to, the sides are going to be where I'm going to pick from. I don't have any design edge running on I-cord running at the edge of one place or the other. So if I have an I-cord here, I will start short rowing from here, the point, so that it goes, because here will be wider instead, the right hand side will be wider. But since I don't have anyone, I'm going to start short rowing from the right. So I'm going to push, let's take it, since it's 40, is it 40? No, one of my stitches went out, although I put 40. Okay, when you move one by one, that's it, with one by one, you have to, I would have increased the stitch. Okay, let me just increase that stitch. Let me increase it first. We'll do it, I think there's a technique, a video technique on how to do increase, but we'll also do it in this in another project. Okay, so I've just increased the stitch so that it's complete 40. All right. Oh, it's not even 42 left here. I'm going to, don't worry, I'm just going to do quickly increase these ones so that I want 40 stitches exactly. Why didn't I count my stitch after I push them backward again? Okay, so now I have 40 stitches. What I'm going to do is, so that you see the color code on the needles helped me in counting. That's how I knew my stitches, my needles were not 40, that I've mistakenly moved some backward. Okay, so we need to push. So I'm going to put from this end, I'm going to push 4. I'm just going to push 4 into hold position. Then don't forget to put your yarn in the yarn feeder of the carriage. So I'm going to do that, put my yarn in the yarn feeder of the carriage, and I'm going to, remember the carriage is set, the side levers are set, the rosser levers are set on 1, and the side levers are set on triangle. Both sides the same setting. So I'm going to just knit 1 across. So knitting across, oh sorry, it wasn't showing. Knitting across, I'm just going to tie this at this end so that I don't come off. So knitting across, you will notice that we have 3 stitches there, 4 needles there. you will notice that we have 4 needles here that are in hold position. You take it, if you take it, we take camera backward a little, you zoom out a little, you will see that these needles, they are in hold position and they knitted across. We have, and you can see one other thing to note, that the yarn is above the needles. What you need to do, because you are going to come back, we are going to take the yarn and place it under the first inner needle. We're going to place it under the first inner needle. If not, there's going to be a hole in your work. You don't need that. Well, we learn from mistakes. So we are going to knit across, and when we are coming again, we only short row when we are coming on one side. We are not going to, not on every row. So I'm just going to, we're going to do that technique for now. So we'll go straight back. So we'll go straight back, we'll knit. Setting on the carriage to the same needles are set in hold position. So we are coming back, we'll knit again. Row 3, we're going to bring 4 needles to hold position. Now we have 8 needles in hold position. So we're going to bring the carriage back again. And you can see, sorry, this is going to be zooming in and zooming out because we need to explain some of the process. You need to see closer and you need to go out a bit to see how the work is, how the needles are. So it's just like going in, but when you are used to it, just because it's demonstration purpose, and I apologize for those that it affects their sight or their vision, but it's what needs to be done. If not, you won't see when the needles are in hold and when the needles are not in hold. You need to see the needle bed and you need to see the demonstration. Okay, so here we're going to go closer and you will take the yarn again. The first inner needle, you're going to take it over under it and over the other needles. So I'm just going to make sure you see that. You can see that now this needle here is under this needle. It hasn't been knitted. You can see it's under the needle, pass the yarn under the needle and over the other 7 needles. So that's how short row will keep on doing it. Sometimes it's if you need to get a hang of it, then it will be because you are going to use it for the next project. So because we are going back, we've already done the, to prevent holding our work, we have already passed the yarn under the inner needle and put the remaining part of the yarn over the needles. If you don't, if you put all of them under your needle, when the carriage is coming back, it's going to wrap all this needle. No, we don't want it. We want it to automatically wrap only this needle to prevent holding our work. So that's why we put it under. Sorry, I didn't explain it the first time, but I'm explaining it now. So we go straight back in. And then we're going to push 4 more needles before we start the other side coming in. So we'll still knit again. I'll keep on talking like so, just to repeat myself so that you get a hang of it. And if you have already gotten, you can just forward to where we did the process. But I just want to make sure that the camera is picking each and every step that I'm doing. So we I've placed it on, I've wrapped it under the inner needle, the first inner needle, or the first inner needle. Then put the remaining part all over the other needles. So I'm going to knit backward 4 needles, also one thing I remember is that when you are knitting, if you once you come to the end, you will notice that the yarn is always above. Okay, so as usual, the first inner needle, we take it under and put it, and then we knit. Before we knit, you see that we are sharpening the and if you see, you can see as if it's a slanted triangle is forming here. Can you see that triangle? Yeah, that is the effect we are trying to create. When we do it, like if you have sewn a garment before and it's like inserting a goddess into the, but once you do it together, it becomes a flare without creating slit and adding a triangle into to create a goddess in sewing. This one, you are just continuously like this will give you a flare, flared, depending on how you want to pronounce. Okay, so I'll just we have to. Oh, have we pushed the 4? Let me see. Okay, yes, we've pushed it. So we'll come back. So now we have 4 needles left there, and let's see our knit. We've knitted 18 rows more. So we've done 18 rows more because we did 10 rows for the for the first the straight ones. Then the shaping we started from the 11th row. So now we're going to do for the last one. So we push all needles, the remaining last 4 needles. And then we change the carriage. Sorry, not to knit that one. I just forgot how we're supposed. So we are not going to short row those one. We'll just change the carriage back to we'll change the levers on the carriage, the rotor lever back to 2 on both sides, because now if you want to knit 1 row of the gray, that's fine, but if you don't want to knit 1 row of the gray to secure it, you can now start with the yellow. So I'll just knit 1 row of the green. And I'll snip it off. So I've knitted 1 row of the green. I'm going to put the yellow yarn in next. So I'm going to put it. Be very careful with having your carriage very close to this because of demonstration purpose. I don't want to turning cameras left, right, and center. So I just left the carriage there. So that you don't mistakenly push the carriage and your project drops. Okay, so I'm just trying to get rid of the yarn, and we now have let me take it out and show you again. So now we've put the left, remember the left side and right side, we've now brought it back to Russell level 2. Okay, we did it before we did the last row, but I just want to show it in case I didn't show it, and I know I didn't show it, I just said it and I just did it on the carriage, but since I'm demonstrating I need to show it. Okay, so I'm just going to knit and then tie this one here, then we'll do another 10 rows. So we've done 10 rows again. Now it's time so you can see the short row effect we created. So that's it. I'm just going to take let's do another one. One thing about short rowing, if you notice I did 10 rows and now I'm on this side. That's because I needed one extra row with the gray to bring the needles there. Normally I'm supposed to, wherever you start your odd number, that should be what you're going to start when you are knitting the stitch. So I'm just going to put this one back. I'm just going to knit it back so that, because I want to start short rowing from here. So what I'm going to do now, normally I prefer when I want to short row, the carriage is always on the other side. So let's do another thing and see if the carriage is on this side. We still do the same technique. What is going to happen? So I'm going to snip that off. You know, I said earlier that I did one more extra row, which when I was supposed to change to the yellow, I just, okay, let's knit with one gray to secure it. We didn't really need to do that. We just needed to put the yellow and continue, because the gray was only for the short row, and as soon as the short row ends, it's supposed to be yellow. But I knitted one row, and now I'm ending on this side with my carriage when I'm supposed to be short rowing. So what I'm going to do is, I've not done this before, so I'm just going to try and see what's going to happen now. What's going to happen now? So I'm going to put I'm going to set the carriage first to the carriage levels. I'm going to now set the carriage levels at 1, those Russell levels on the carriage at 1. Put the gray yarn in the yarn feeder, and let's see what's going to happen. Let's see the law of effects. For every action, there's a reaction, be it positive or negative. So I'm just going to put it, and I'm just going to knit. Now these ones will not knit, because if we don't show this error, if I don't show this error now, okay, so I'm just going to put that. It's this is a form of decreasing now. So these ones will not knit, this 4 will not knit. Just going to leave it so, like so. Then as we're coming back, I'm going to push 4 needles into hold position, and let's see what's going to happen. What happened? So since my carriage has a problem, so I'm just going, okay, it's one of all the stitches here. So I'm going to push them because they mistakenly pushed to the up to the hold position. I'm going to push them to upper working position, and let's it's okay. So let's just, did it drop stitch? I think it dropped some stitch here. Dropped one here and dropped one there. Let me fix this one. I dropped one here. I didn't put the needles in properly, so now we know that if we don't put needles properly, they will drop the stitches. Okay, so I thought I did. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to manually knit them to put them in position. I'm not touching the short row, I'm just touching the ones I dropped the stitches, so that I can put those ones in the right. Before I knew how to repair stitches, anytime I make mistake, I'll just remove the work, and that's the end of that project. I'll have to restart again. But one day I went very far. I've progressed almost at the end when I made a mistake of dropping stitches. I just moved the carriage and there was no yarn. I didn't know the yarn shifted and my work just fell. So that day I had to I opened the manual. I was searching, how do I pick drop stitches? How do I got into knitting groups. I was looking for solution. I was able to do it because I learned from both the knitting group manuals. It was as if I was reading for exam. But I've gone too far to turn back now. So that's how I learned. And patiently I'll pick the stitches. So I learned sometimes I'll just lose one row and I'm able to pick, depend on how many rows I miss, depend on how the mistake is. I can just lose one row and start over again and start from that row. Okay, so now I've done this. Okay, we'll come back. Okay, yes, you see. Okay, so now I will we need enough yarn. So I'm going to put the yarn under the first needle, the same short rowing technique, and I'm going to tight over there. Okay, that's because the yarn was so tight and couldn't. I'm going to do that again. Okay, so now we're going to go back again and we'll continue knitting till we finish reducing. We just want to see the effect and what is if we made an error and what it is. But all we know now is that there's a bit of like a hole here because we started the yarn from this side. You understand? So let me just go down, focus the. You can see that the gray yarn is starting here instead of starting at the edge. That's because we did one short row. So if with that, if you find that you did something like that, what I would advise is that the first row you need to do, just make it a straight row so that you have the gray yarn starting from here instead of starting with a short row immediately. If you just find out that, oh, if I push the yarn, if I change my yarn and I push the needle, I'm going to start from here, from that I'm not going, my yarn is not going to start from the beginning. Then I advise that you should instead knit one row. So I'm talking, I'm knitting. Okay, so I'll just advise that you should just knit one row of so just push this one row straight and that's it. So I've put the yarn under. You can see I've passed it under. I'm just doing it again. Pass it under and I'm just going to knit backwards. Push 4. So now we have the last 4 as usual. We just bring those ones in. So and you can see our triangle formed. But the only thing is that here we have the yarn coming out, so that's yarn about 4 needles in, which is not right for. So if you have a very long yarn, you can maybe manually just knit them in and just tie it there. It's all right when you do that. So I'm going to snip this time. I'm just going to snip, and we'll use the yellow yarn and let the yellow yarn do its job for us. So I'm going to put the yellow yarn. Okay, on the carriage, we'll set the levers back to 2 because we are going to just knit straight. We don't need to leave these needles in hold position. So we're going to, all needles will now knit. I was supposed to hold these. Just going to turn it. Okay. So I'm just going to remember on both sides you need to change the levers, the Russell levers back to 2 so that you can knit. So here I'm going to change back to another different color, and I'm just going to let that color knit a few rows for me. Okay, and I'm just going to, and we have so here you can see that we have let me push all those ones aside. Don't want anything in the way. You can see that we have the skater effect, and you can see the flare effect is causing. You can see the flared effect that is creating. If we have to remove this one, we have to remove this edge that is helping us to secure our work. You can see that we already have the skater effect here. So imagine doing in the next project, of which we are going to use it for our 12 crafts of machine knitting background design, where we use it for the base of our gown. We'll be using this, but instead we'll use the same color all through, so you won't notice it. That's why I have to do this technique, so that you know how to do the technique. Then when we are doing it, you understand when it's time for us to do the shaping and stuff. But if you are going to get a bit confused, if you are using the same color, I would advise that you take it, you take a contrast yarn and just snip, hook it on the side. Just hook it on the side. After you finish, you can remove them. Just hook it on the, before you start the shape, you just hook it where when you want to start the short row, and when you finish the short row, that will enable you to count it, count the shape, note the where the short row is and where it started and where it stopped from. we have stopped at. Okay, so this is all about the short row. This is of it, using it to create a skater effect, a flared gown, a flared effect. You can use this for a little girl's skirt. Then what you do is you now pick the edges. You now pick this edge here, and you can make bands over it. But when we pick our edge for the gown, we're going to continue it into a gown. So you see, we're going to knit it like so. Then we'll now turn it. You know, we knit it on the vertical. We'll now turn it horizontal. We knit it horizontally. We'll now turn it on the vertical, and we'll now knit all vertically to create our gown. So if you want to make a skirt with this, all you need to do is just pick. The same way, you need to watch that project. You need to pick, and then you can make a band over. You now make a band over it. Put your elastic, and it's just make it longer instead of these 40 stitches. Just make it the length you want it to be, and you can make layers of it so that it comes on. I think we should do that for one of the projects. If I have time, I'm going to do it. If I have time from all my coding activities, I'll do it. So, but let's go for the next. Let's go for this. I don't promise too much because I really have a lot to do in designing games and all stuff. I really have a lot doing. Okay, so that's our project, and I want to say thank you for joining me for this video today of creating short row in a short row technique using the LK150. And guess what, you can use any machine to do this. You can use any flatbed knitting machine. I don't know if this, I know a flatbed knitting machine that can set needles to hold position and can set you know, you can manually do it. Yeah, just make sure the carriage can, this is a manual bed knitting machine, so you can set the needles, put the when you knit, it leaves the needles in hold position. Then you can do it on any flat bed knitting machine. So if you can set the needles in hold position, then you can do it on any flat bed knitting machine. So until next time, I want to say a very big thank you. Even when I made mistake, mistake came out right. All right, I want to say thank you a lot. Thank you so much, and thank you. I hope you join me for the next one when we use it to make a gown. Bye for now, and remember, you are the designer. Thank you. So here's a clear video. Here's a clear view of a short row technique, and here you can see where we started, where we missed 4 from the second time we were doing it. When I said if it's not at the opposite end of the carriage, you don't decrease the same. Don't decrease 4 needles the same size of the side of the carriage. Make sure you go first the opposite side and decrease on the other side. So this was the second time we did the second time we were doing the short row, and this is the first one. You can see the skater, and you can see the curved edge here. So imagine every time you slot in this, and you can see how it's making this to come out as if so it's spreading out like a flag. But if you take this and put it, it becomes straight. So some people use this to hide and design, and it will be as if it's a kind of funny kind of line pleated design. They'll use patterning and do it. But here we are just going to use it for to make a flared design for our garment. It's going to be at the base of the gown. So you can see, let me just spread it out so that you see. So you see. So this is what we'll be making this those design, but we'll use the same color all through. So I want to say thank you for joining me for this video of practicing short row technique on the LK150 knitting machine. Until next time, happy knitting. Remember, you are the designer. Thank you.